You're watching the 420 Pace Network, found at 420radio.ca and paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
This podcast is for adults only, should not be used as a meal replacement, and may contain nuts.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Noobie and The Doobie. My name is Timmy. I am the Noobie.
Mary Jane, I am the Doobie.
We are very excited to have with us back on the show as a second returnees, Alexis and Jolene, otherwise known as Blunts and Beans. I still haven't figured out who's the Blunts and who's the Beans, but thank you so much. Yes, you are the Doobie. Nice shirt, by the way.
Thank you. Feel like I need to point out she's a Doobie, not the Doobie.
That's right. There's only one the Doobie. Wait, do the shirts say the Doobie?
No, it should
no,
say
it says a Doobie.
Okay,
Yeah.
Good. All right.
Yeah,
All right. I
see,
thought we
mine
had messed
says
that one up.
The Doobie.
And I'm assuming, Alexis, yours was lost in the mail. Is that how it's worked?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it was lost.
Okay. All
Or
right.
maybe she just wore it so much because she loved it and it's gone.
Well, we really appreciate you guys being back on the show, and there's so much to talk about that we didn't get to talk about last time. For those that are tuning in though and maybe didn't watch the last episode, let's just make it very clear. It's kind of split down the middle here. Jolene and myself are besties, and Alexis and MJ are besties. So there is a little bit of a relational divide going on.
And if you notice, I got to sit next to my bestie.
Yes, she wanted to sit beside. Yeah. I'm gonna have to reach over.
Hi.
No.
I got you.
Oh,
You guys are too cute. It's funny. You guys decided that very early on. You're like, Jolene, you're my bestie.
yeah.
And there was no question because Alexis, I was like, yep, I want Jolene anyways.
Oh, well, this.
I'm kidding. I love you, Jolene.
This show,
I love you.
This show is starting off like no other show has. So, like, before we get into questions about life in general, is there anything? Because we're gonna put this thing up probably a couple days after we're recording. It's about to go up because you guys got big things.
Yeah, that's the fastest I'm gonna say I've ever gonna be able to edit and then get it uploaded because I'm like, we got news. Well, we don't have news. You got news that we want to like.
And we want people to know that we're going to talk more about this later in the episode, but give kind of that 3-minute elevator pitch to tell people what it is that we are going to talk about later on, what is coming up, just to kind of, stir the pot up a little bit.
Do you want to be the music or I'll be the music? I'll be the music. Okay, you got it. Music. All right. So in precisely 17 sleeps, we'll be having the best, most fun weekend. Camp Canna 2023 is coming. We're getting together. We are having responsible, dignified consumption. We're having fun. We're celebrating culture. And it's really a nice opportunity to get to know some legal brands as a consumer, to build some nice relationships with them. But mostly it's just to get together and celebrate how far the cannabis community has come, because there's so many cool things that we are able to do today that we were not 5 years ago. So yeah, that's what we got coming up.
Okay, so we will talk more about specifics on that. I caught right away though. How do you put together responsible, dignified, and fun? Where's the line there?
You cover all the subjects.
Okay, all right. So is like the dignified time, like the Friday night.
Yeah, you schedule them at different times,
Saturday.
maybe different locations.
Really dignified consumption just means like in an area that is stigma free, where you're not being judged or looked down upon or
feeling like you need to be over there in the corner
in a smoke pit where you can't see anything or you're not part of anything, which was really an injustice that we felt when we went to cannabis events where we had to, step outside the venue into the back alley to consume, you know what I mean? So having dignified consumption, you don't have to step away from anything. You want to sit there. We're out in nature. We're in open air. We're enjoying people's company. It's, it's not an area where we like, okay, in this box. So, yeah.
Is there a place though for people like me who are very judgmental and I would like to judge people?
Yeah, right in the midst of it. No, you can sit there in the middle of all of it,
okay,
and watch everybody and
If you
judge
don't want to
because
be judgy and you just want to people watch as a non-consumer, you're welcome to come too. Last year, 10% of our pass holders were actually non-consumers, and they just came to have a good time
and to learn
the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for some education. Like in the places that are governed today, there's no education able to be given. So, it's kind of, some people are curious, even if they're not consuming themselves, like you. So,
although MJ tried to give me a teapot,
the lemon iced tea. Yeah,
that's infused.
We picked it up from Tokyo Smoke, and I was like, crack it open, and I smell it, and it smells just like Nestea iced tea, and I'm like, come on, like, do you think one sip wouldn't get you high? Would it?
Yeah,
just like a sip.
It was peer pressure all over the place.
Have you ever accidentally done that though? Like given him something, been like, "This is so good, you have to try it." Getting wrapped up,
and you're gonna talk. I know exactly.
She didn't accidentally give me something, but above her stove,
it's not there anymore.
There was a bottle of oil, of which I was going to cook with, because I'm a progressive male. So I went to grab the oil, and she was like, "No,
it was in the pan. He had already put it in the pan, and he's heating up the pan." And I was like, "What oil did you use?" And he's like, "Huh?" And I was like, "That one." I was like, "No." I grabbed the pan. I was like, "No." Toss the pan in the sink. I grab a new pan. He's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "That's cannabis oil."
Yeah.
He's like, "Why is it next to the other oil? Why is it not labeled?" I was like, "It is labeled." He says,
she's like,
"Where? Where is it labeled?" And he's looking at the bottle.
For the person who complains about cannabis labeling all the time, and she was just like, "Well, who just picks up someone's oil and pours it?" And it's like, how about the guy who wants to eat dinner and he's been staying here at the house?
In all fairness, the labeling that I had was a chalkboard shelf, and the label was on the chalkboard. It said Pink Kush cannabis oil, and it had an arrow to that bottle.
So if the bottle, because the bottle's always going to be right in that spot.
Hey, my kids know not to use that. I figured that he would. Like, it would have been a fun night for sure. A fun day. That was breakfast.
Well, enough about us. Okay,
I would never purposely dose anybody. Although I do think it would be fun.
It's not purposeful. That's an accident.
Well,
right?
I think it would be fun to make a bunch of cookies or brownies or whatever it is, but make all of them, like 90% of them, just regular cookies, and then 10% of them
infused.
Infused cannabis roulette. And everybody who knows, everybody will know, like 10% of these have cannabis in it. Have fun.
I'm not ready. I'm not ready for that game.
No, but everybody has to know, or else it's no fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it won't be a good game.
Yeah.
So we don't want to go. We don't want to go through your whole history again, because we covered that in the episode, and you guys should go look at that episode. But
yes, we did hear the first stories.
We do want to hear a little bit about kind of the extension of that journey, and maybe start with how you guys kind of got together, the vision of Blunts and Beans, kind of in that condensed journey, and then as this relationship, both professionally and personally, has unfolded over the last year or so since we had last talked. Talk to us a little bit about that cannabis journey individually and together.
That's a lot. That's a whole lot. You want us to just debrief a year?
Yeah, start in January and go from there.
I mean, we have had a crazy, beautiful year.
Incredible year.
We've been blessed by the ganja gods.
Yes. I often say that sometimes, because we're in the hustle and bustle of it all, and we're doing something there's no like guidebook you know? There's not exactly a book that's like, do this and this will happen, you know? So it's like, I always often say that we need to look at the trophies on the shelf, because even no matter how big and small they are, like there's still trophies on the shelf. So like, you know, we're hitting our head against the government on all levels, like doing what we're doing, you know what I mean? And so some days we're like, ugh, this is tough, but we have a lot of trophies on the shelf from this year. Like I got an opportunity to speak with our premier earlier in the year, and kind of bring to her attention cannabis tourism and what that looks like. And she was able to like share her personal opinion with me, and that she sees cannabis as like a medicine plant. And she believes that the guidelines and regulations in Alberta are too strong right now. And I don't want to take like credit or anything, but the first thing she did as she got reelected was moved AGLC, which is our governing body of cannabis and liquor, underneath the red tape reduction minister, away from the finance minister, which is huge for anybody operating a business in Alberta. So like that's crazy, huge trophy on the shelf there. But yeah, really it's just been like crazy how organically, like how everything has just happened organically this year. Like it was just a matter of like, oh hey, like would you guys be interested in doing this? Like we rolled
just
the world's largest doobie.
A year ago when we were on your podcast, that was the first podcast we had ever been on.
Yeah.
And since then, I mean, we've publicly spoken at a couple events. We've been to Toronto. We were in Edmonton at Grow Up. So we've been around, and Vancouver was.
Well, you guys even did your own podcast too.
Yeah, we have our own show now. We're on summer break because
we're on
like
summer break because the kids are on summer break.
Hot mom summer here. So
good for you. You need to know when to, like, you know, we were talking about that with somebody, another guest. We had reached out to them. We're like, we really want to get you on the show, and they're like, well, we'd love to, but same thing. It's summer vacation. We'll deal with you.
No, with the High Ladies. You guys know the High Ladies podcast?
I love the High Ladies.
Love the High Ladies.
Yeah.
Hi, ladies.
Yeah.
We will have.
I stole their lighter by accident at the Can Expo, and I still have it. Her green lighter. I will bring it back to her one day. I have it, and I need to give it back. But
no, they're great.
Well, we met you guys in person. At
I still kept my
event?
lighter though.
Can Expo?
Yeah.
The Can Expo.
And
I kept my lighter.
Well, no, I right now it's just clicking, because remember when we left that after we had given you guys hugs goodbye, and I was like I was missing stuff out of my pockets, and I was like I must have dropped it.
As soon as we got there, we didn't even make it inside. They nailed us with hugs before we even went in.
Yeah.
Who knows what we lost?
No, I know, and
lighters.
I know. Jolene was so handsy, and I was like, wait a minute, what's gone?
That's not what you were like.
We can't make up rumors.
It's a really cool thing.
Well, we can.
Our whole world is about rumors. That's how these things sell.
All right, let's make up a good one then.
All right.
So, okay, but Blunts and Beans, like when we had talked to you guys, you know, like
it initially started with a subscription.
It's like you guys are doing little subscription boxes, and now you're talking about meeting the premier and running like this, you know, this huge, Camp Canna event. And so like that might have all been kind of there in the initial discussions a year ago, but I mean, moving from kind of this subscription service that has coffee and cannabis to like this, you know, provincial, if not going on, you know, a national vision. That's a lot of progression in 1 year.
It's definitely not lazy stoner.
You know, we're not.
Yeah.
We like to get stuff done. And not only that, but when we had the subscription box, we wanted to have a coffee shop. We wanted to have the experience we were giving people in the box in real life, in a little cafe that we had lived at, and we had our whole little movie moment. And that's just not possible. And it got to a point where we were tired of waiting for someone else to do it. And we're doers. So We put our mind to it, and we've been chipping away at it, and we've been making a ripple, and it's slowly turning into a wave. So that's been cool to see. Just last week, we sat down with our premier as Alexis, or
Our MLA,
our MLA for this area. And when we sat down with him, like, our goal going into that meeting was we wanted to set a standard for our area. And we were going to start picking at him because, you know, we've talked provincially. We are on boards that are talking to federal government. So we needed to get to our local guy. And so it was really crazy when we stepped in there, and he loved everything we were saying. He was on board. But not only that, he didn't want to make these changes just in the municipality. He wants to set a standard for Alberta. And I think otherwise we're just jumping the hoops again and again in each region as opposed to being a unified front.
And it like maybe sounds a lot different, you know, the subscription box to like where we're at now. But I think like on a very level, like foundation, like Jolene said, like we're moms, but we parent in a way where we provide experiences to our children, and we bring that through into our business a lot because we want to provide experiences for people where they feel welcome, where they feel dignified, where they feel good, and like, you know, where they can feel celebrated at the end of the day. And we're so lucky to have the supportive community that we have that's kind of just opened the doors and let us provide this experience for them. Because like last year, when I was calling people to ask them to help with Camp Canna, I first had to tell them what Camp Canna was. And like I know we never done it yet, but we're gonna, and it's gonna be great. And like, you know what I mean? It was a completely different conversation last year versus this year. They're reaching out to us. They know what Camp Canna is. They've seen it with their own hands. They see the vision, and people have bought into that vision now. So, I mean, that's just like, it's crazy. Like when I think of like, I truly hope we can get you guys there, because the growth from last year to this year, just in the event, is like astronomical. And it honestly could not be that much growth if it weren't for our supportive community. Like we have
spreading the word,
people screaming from the mountaintops for us. And it's just like, if it weren't for them, it would be like not even comparable. It's so amazing. It's so good.
Not only them, but our community and our herd at home. Like we wouldn't be able to do what we do without the support system we have. Like we have 5 kids between the two of us who are between 6 and 13. So, you know, they still like to have us around sometimes.
Occasionally.
Yeah. So, you know, we're definitely blessed when it comes to a support system who believes in us going after our dreams.
Yeah.
So what? Okay, so there's a couple things. Number one is the whole thing of a lot of moms might have these same sort of visions, but they I hear this term a lot. I'm just a mom.
Yeah.
And
I don't have the time.
You guys though seem to express that, you know, because I think just anything needs to be pulled away when people they limit themselves by doing that. Was that a hurdle for you initially to be able to get past that on personal level for both of you to go, I'm not just a mom, I can do this?
I think this is something that we have to deal with every single day. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is, at the end of the day, they're children. They're only going to be children for so long. Like, I know that that's something that, like, I have a separated house. Like, my daughter goes to spend time with her dad. And so I don't feel as guilty as maybe, and I shouldn't speak for you, but I don't feel as guilty as maybe Jolene does, leaving her children who are used to her being in their home 24/7 and never away from her. Right. So like, I feel like we go through very different experiences as being working moms. But for me as a working mom, is I look at it as, when my daughter grows up and has children, I want her to see that literally nothing is unattainable, because you can do everything. You can either use it as an excuse or as your reason why. My mom was 15 when she got pregnant with me. A lot of my childhood upbringing was, well, don't get pregnant because your whole life will be over. And like, you know what I mean? Like that whole like rhetoric, but my life is not over because I'm a mom. I'm a whole ass person over here, and she will grow into being such a better person because she sees me be my authentic self and not just the mother figure. You know what I mean? So
if you're 4'2" and blind, you'll never be in the NBA. I don't care how much people say follow your dreams.
You never know.
Watch me.
You never know. There's
Watch
the positivity.
me
Yeah, there's the positivity.
I don't know. I think if we all concentrated on the fact that we're supposed to be unique individuals who leave our mark on this world, it could be a better place. So yeah, sometimes it is hard to juggle. Mom guilt is a real thing. I think whether they're a newborn or 30 years old, you're still going to have those moments. But you're still your own person at the end of the day, and you need to do stuff for you because that's important too. And I super love that everything we do, a lot of the time it's with the kids because we are Canna moms and we do raise them without a stigma around the plant. It's just another plant we grow. It's our medicine. They know about it. They choose right now. They have no interest. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a plant. They're not gardeners.
Man, they love Camp Canna. They think Camp Canna is the coolest place in the world. They wish they could be there too. Like, you know what I mean? They've even come up with their own ideas about having like a kids camp next door for the kids. Like,
nice.
You know what I mean? Like, they're like in it, and it's exciting.
They get
to see
mad because they help us with everything we do, so they see our growth. Like when we were in the Catalyst project, they thought we were in a museum, and like I cried a little bit because seeing ourselves through their eyes, like I didn't picture it like that. Like it was a beautiful movement, and I was so proud of us 33 women for standing up and telling our story together in such an authentic, beautiful way. But the kids, in their eyes, they seen it as like, you're in a museum, in a gallery, in the mall.
You're famous.
You know, so it's nice to have their light shining in there too sometimes.
And like stepping out of our comfort zone, like Jolene has stepped so far out of her comfort zone this year. Let's give this girl some props because she's an introvert and like not a public speaker and not you know, she would get like anxiety before we would do our first show, like so much anxiety, but she just powers through it. Like she's grown so much just as a person, you know, and like that speaks wonders to the show.
So is it really, does it really come down to just do it? Like, because like, so right now there's a whole lot of people out there that are hearing stuff like this. They've got these visions and it's like, well, how come we didn't create Camp Canna? How come we're not having sit downs with our, premieres or whatever it may be? Like, because we were just watching what were we watching, Inventing Anna. Have you ever seen the TV show or the Inventing Anna on Netflix? Basically it was
based on a true story. If you don't know who Anna Delvey is, you should
you should look it up.
Inventing Anna. It's a 9 episode.
It's a story of somebody who found out very quickly that if you you can sell an idea to a bunch of people and everybody is going, well, who else do you have? And nobody wanted to be the first one in. But once, so she ended up lying. But once you kind of, all of a sudden people are like, oh, there's other people involved. Now I want to be in. So how do you go about doing that? You got this idea of Camp Canna. How do you, go to somebody in power and go, we got this thing, and have him go, I mean, maybe he didn't. I mean, or maybe she didn't. And they'd be like, well, is anybody else involved in this? Like, do you have anything else set up? Like,
I feel like
how did you get that first piece?
The first year they had to be like,
I feel
this
like
is what we can do.
A lot of that weight on Alexis. Alexis has done sales and finance for many years. So she's good at calling people and talking to them, and she can take a note and continue on and make 100 more phone calls that day and not be disturbed. Me, I will be crippled at that first no and I will cry. So it's all about that yin and yang and pulling from our strengths, because it was hard in the beginning to find people. And this year we do have people who've seen it. So it's easier for them to buy in. But I think at the end of the day, if you haven't seen Wanda James speak, like phenomenal, but it's her, like just those motivational speeches, she was just doing her thing. And she was also tired of waiting. So she got on the phone and she made things happen. And you know what? I'm here. I'm not doing anything wrong. So let's talk about it. Let's get some growth on the go.
Yeah, I feel like in my brain, I've made a mountain out of a molehill. They told me I couldn't do it. They told me I couldn't bring up into conversation. They told me there is no special events license for cannabis. Nobody's talking about it. We're not going to get there. And I just like didn't believe them. I'm like, this is literally 2023. We have a clinic in Calgary that serves psilocybin therapy. Like, why can't I smoke a joint at a public place? Like, this is silly. And then when I'm seeing, like, there's so many great movements that are going on, but I want my voice to be heard. I want our opinion, because we're mothers. Like, the stigma is going to end when the mothers raise the children with the right view, and the fathers raise the children, like, not showing as the war on drugs. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, nothing that we're doing is wrong. We're completely positive with this. And so I take that confidence when I'm like talking to people, just like, come and see for yourself. Like, our MLA, please come to Camp Canna, please check, please explain. But we also have to like I feel like I'm skilled in selling the vision, because I believe in the vision so much. And so when I say I made a mountain out of a molehill for dignified consumption, like, I'm prepared to die on this hill. Like, I'm prepared to die up here on this mountain, because my daughter is going to turn 18 years old, and the only public event for her to go to is surrounded around alcohol. And there's no other option for her right now. And I'm not okay with that. My daughter's going to be 18, 12 years down the road. Like, we got to do something about it now before it's too late. And I think that, you know, maybe if 18-year-olds had a secondary option, there wouldn't be as much, you know, statistics prove alcohol is just not as safe. You know what I mean? Let's have an alternative. And so I think that's just something that if we don't, who will? Because I've sat here and waited.
Yeah.
You know? Well, I know we're talking different provinces, because we're in Ontario and you guys are in Alberta. But here in Ontario, like, we go to a place like Canada's Wonderland. And as a cannabis consumer, in order to even be allowed to carry my cannabis into the park, I have to have my medical documentation on me. And as Timmy can attest to, it creates a problem at the gate, and you have to be very polite and firm in that you are allowed to carry it, and that it is a medical thing, that they're because they don't know. This guy doesn't know from that guy. You got to call the head guy. And then like it was like 5-10 minutes, and then they're, sorry ma'am, no problem, just make sure you have that license. I said, yep, I don't travel without it, it's fine, I got it. But while we're inside, if I want to go and have a joint, I still have to leave the park to go and consume it. But this is the part that bothers me. While I'm standing in line for the 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever, I'm getting bumped by the person behind me, because they're not paying attention, and they've got their beer in their hand and they're bumping into me.
I didn't mean to bump into her. I was trying to keep my distance, but it just...
Well, in all fairness, I shouldn't have made you carry all my beer.
That's true too.
Well, no, but it's ridiculous. Like, in our morning show, we covered news stories about, you know, Ontario, talking about Ottawa actually saying that they want to put more graphic warning labels on cannabis. Now, my daughter sees these cannabis containers in my home. She knows that this is medicine. She knows that this is a tool. She also sees cigarettes in my home, because I smoke cigarettes. There's graphic warnings on cigarettes, rightfully so. They should be there.
Yeah.
But
I'm judging now, just so you know.
There's no lock on your cigarette pack, though.
Pardon?
There's no lock on your cigarette pack.
No, there isn't. But however, I can take my daughter. I have to leave her in the car to go into the cannabis store. But I can take her into the liquor store where the bottles are all on the shelves that she can reach. Not a single warning at all on an alcohol bottle. Policing, when we were on the tourism panel at Grow Up, we spoke with City Councilor Michael Jans, and he said that when it comes to councils, like city councils, the largest cost for any municipality is policing. And when they think about, since cannabis became legalized, there's basically zero incident when it comes to policing cannabis. So at this point, what's the harm? I don't understand. We have data, we have reasons, and we just don't have enough voices. So I will stand up and be that voice if we need to.
So what is there's so many hurdles. I mean, we have the conversation here all the time of people saying, well, it's legal now and the fight is over. The fight is not. As a non-consumer, I'm looking around going like wait, this is legal? Like you would be you almost feels like there's more restrictions and more rules in place than I ever would have thought. So out of all the stuff that still needs to get done in terms of what your vision is, what's the primary hurdle? What is the one that is,
what are some of the biggest,
the one that you're facing right now going, man, this is a tough one?
Man, where do we start?
I think
I thought you said men. I'm like, yep.
I mean, we're at a point where we feel like we need to go right back to that foundation, because when you look at the medicinal cannabis, how it's been rolled out, and indigenous brands, excise tax, like we could go on and on. The little guys don't have a leg to stand on out there. I mean, it's sad for the industry, but the government, they're raking it in out there.
1.55 billion in a fiscal year last year, to be exact. But the government's laughing. I think
tourism. Yeah. People want to come and tour. Like Alexis was out for dinner while we were at Grow Up.
Oh, yes. And there was the family from the UK
that came because they wanted to experience the cannabis culture, but they couldn't even find a joint. They didn't know where to look.
I gave them one. Don't you worry. But
there's just so many areas.
And that's a cannabis event.
Yeah,
that's the sad thing. That's a cannabis event, and people go there looking for sometimes more than just information, but like experiential information as well.
They weren't at the event. They were just in town.
I was just out for dinner in Edmonton, but but that's a huge thing though. Like, we're not allowed to actually have any. The big thing for me is promotion. This industry is going to fail if we do not change our promotion guidelines. If I cannot advertise my new products, if I cannot explain the benefits to my products, if I cannot try to bring in new customers or new consumers, or, you know what I mean? There's a million products out there. Some people have no idea where to even start, but I can't also advertise to you even about Camp Canna. Like, we got reached out to from Health Canada just recently. They were concerned about how we were, like, they just cited the promotion laws to us as like a, hey, could you tell me more about your event? But keep in mind, all of these things are illegal, like making it look glamorous or fun, or portraying a certain lifestyle associated to cannabis, or anything like that. So the culture of cannabis, portraying the culture of cannabis could be technically, it could technically be against the legislation, right? So that to me is mind-boggling. Like the alcohol promotion guidelines, like, you can promote anything, you know what I mean? Literally anything. And you can have it on radio stations, on TVs, you can put it anywhere. But we've reached the peak of cannabis consumers. That's what the finance critics said last year, that we've reached the peak now. And almost every, like, I would say 4 out of 5 cannabis companies I talk to are struggling. And if they could just promote why they even do what they do to help get some consumers, like some brand loyalty, perhaps they'd survive. But unfortunately, everybody's kind of stuck, hands tied. You can't share what you do.
So you're clearly on the radar then, if people are coming to you saying, you can't do this and that, which is good. You want to be on the radar.
Well, I mean, it's not that they said that we can't do it. It's that they're like, hey, can you explain yourself?
Yeah.
And we're like,
and be careful how you promote it too. Because like, I don't know if you're aware of this, but like, if I were to call a local cannabis store and say, hey, do you have Sun Farms Pink Kush? They could tell me yes or no, but they could not tell me if I asked, well, how much is it? They can't tell me the price. They could, because they don't know if I'm an adult. There's no way to verify if I'm of age. So they need to make sure that I go into the store. So like this is why like, and I've seen people break it. There's a store here in town that they've got signs posted on like light posts, and they're just zip tied on there, and they say like cannabis starting at $5 a gram. And these are legal dispensaries. And I mean, like,
but it's
this
like,
is like you got to push the limit.
Yeah, people I think are also acting from a point of desperation right now. Like there's so many people that are just on the brink, like a month or 2 months away from losing it. And at the end of the day, like that's what else are you gonna do? We had for us, like Health Canada didn't tell us not that we were doing anything wrong. They simply it was brought to their attention. They have to follow up. They sent us a thing. At the end of the day, there is no special events license for cannabis. So unfortunately, you have no governing authority over me whatsoever. Until you create one, please create one. If you need help with that, I'll help you. But unfortunately, that's the state we're in right now.
Like I'm curious, like in order to so like if I were to have an event and I wanted to have alcohol at that event, and I wanted to sell alcohol at that event, I would need a special permit and a license. But if I were to just have a camping party with a bunch of my friends and they all brought their own alcohol and everybody was of age, then do I need a special permit? And if I don't need a special permit for that, then why would I need it if all my friends brought their own cannabis? And all I'm doing is advertising the camp.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing wrong with what we're doing because we're hosting a camping event. The things there are like factors of Camp Canna that we have to ensure are compliant with municipal, provincial, and federal. And that's like having cannabis delivery on site. We have to make sure that that is within AGLC's guidelines. Like they're set up for delivery with AGLC, they're age gating, they're using the right platforms. We have legal brands present. Licensed people take part in Camp Canna. So that means we have to make sure that we are providing a safe space for them. So no outward facing marketing, illegal brands, making sure that it's not visible from the road, like things like that. You know what I mean? Just little tiny little hoops. But they're hoops nonetheless. And by the end of it, we have a nice wicked event. It's super fun, but it takes a lot of planning and a lot of time goes into it and a lot of reading. On Jolene. But, yeah.
Jolene does the research and then you go out and
I do the
deal
talk.
with the research.
Yeah.
Okay.
She like preps me, sends me out like a little bulldog. It's fine.
This is what you need to know.
Does she hand you like the binder at the beginning of the day and say, "Here's your notes for today"?
No, I just stand behind her and I'm like
whispering into my.
We need to get an earpiece.
Like, and if that doesn't speak on her growth, I'm telling you the story of Camp Canna last year. Camp Canna last year was the first time Jolene had ever run into the situation where she had to go up on stage and talk into a microphone. And so and we didn't think about it because we were so busy. We were planning doing the things. We just forgot all about the part that we probably have to go on stage and say something. So we went up there and we had it all planned out. I was going to say this.
I had lots of
she was going to say that. I say my piece. I give her the mic. She says the words, but like no noise is coming out, like whatsoever. Like nobody can hear you. You're not talking. You're not even making a single noise. And the rest of it, she just froze and she had to like whisper to me what she was going to say. And then I would just like say it for her through the microphone to like being on stage now. Nailed it. I'm just telling you. Insane.
Yeah.
So good.
I didn't go on stage for the weekend. I was like, here's what you need to say. Go get him tagged.
At Can Expo, you guys had invited me up on stage.
Yeah.
And I went the route of completely awkward and decided I was just going to wing this completely awkward thing. I think you started off with "What's your name?" and I just said Tim. I don't even think I said Timmy. I said Tim, and then left it there. And so Jolene, at that point, I mean, what are you doing with stuff? I didn't realize that you were so brand new on the stage. I probably shouldn't have played it off so awkward.
Because we're awkward together. I think that's why we're best friends. We have awkward comedy that's clean, but is it? And
clean, but is okay.
You know.
Right.
So I think it worked out good. It worked out in my favor. Having a little smiling face. Like now I've learned that sometimes it's easy because you're sitting over there and I could look at you in the crowd and I could talk to you and it looks like I'm talking to the crowd. So, now I've gotten to the point because it makes me feel so nervous. But when we had that interview with Chef Jordan Wagman, because I wasn't consuming before I was talking because I was so nervous, it was heightening my nerves instead of relaxing them, because sometimes that can happen even as an everyday consumer. And I took an edible and I got up there and the whole crowd just went away and I had the best interview. So then from that moment on, I've just been like, letting the crowd fade away and picking my couple people. So I'm still looking at everyone and associating with them. But really, you guys, I'm just scared. And there's 3 of you that are my best.
If I went on stage and the whole crowd just disappeared, that's a bad thing. I don't think like figuratively disappeared or literally.
Yeah,
okay.
I forgot.
Literally, that's
we were
not
having
good,
such a good conversation, me and him, that I forgot that the crowd was there. And at some points I felt bad and like looked at Alexis.
Man,
like,
I was so stoned for that interview. I should not have even been on stage.
And not letting you talk.
I ate an edible. It had 200 milligrams in it. I don't do edibles. I have a 0 edible tolerance. And I ate it specifically 45 minutes before I went on stage. Shout out to Jesse Paul for that situation. But but yeah, it was good. We made it through.
Yeah.
Jolene did so great.
It's my favorite interview of her because she's just like a hype girl. I made myself a little reel of it after just for my own entertainment of all her awkwardness.
This is great. I'm loving this.
So in that growth then, Jolene, is it easier for you now to stand on stage and talk to a crowd of people that slowly disappear, or having those one-on-one conversations that Alexis tends to have when she's sitting down talking to these people in power and authority? Can you have those conversations, or are you now kind of just, I'm okay with talking to the crowd, but I don't really have that one-on-one?
I'm shy, but if you come and talk to me, I'll talk to anyone. I'm just a little bit shy and awkward. That's all. Once you get past that, it's a good time, I swear.
Jolene's like internal programming is statistics. Like she's very critical minded. So I really enjoy when we're talking to people of authority or people in power, when I'm talking to Jolene, because where I can sell the big picture, Jolene can really hone in on the little details and the very important details that are going to sway a decision that I would not have that swaying ability. So I do think that, that's very powerful in those situations, even if she is a little nervous and shy.
I love it. Well, when actually my stage fright is what drove me to the day that I met Timmy, conquering my stage fright. So I totally understand, Jolene, where you're coming from when you say like it kind of like it's hard to focus. I'm glad you've been able to find like that thing that works for you, like focus on this person, and obviously the person you're talking to. But I will say that now, like I host trivia, and there's nothing that I love more than that microphone in my hand. It's like I even bedazzled it because I just love it so much. So I'm hoping one day you'll get there too. You'll get to that point where you're like, I got this, Alexis.
Yeah. Actually, she's that way with the megaphone now for Camp Canna. So
I do like a good megaphone.
She loves the megaphone.
Nice.
We'll have a megaphone all weekend long so everyone can hear me, because I'm kind of quiet too.
Yeah.
With Camp Canna, which I do want to talk specifically about that, but the plan seems to be you want to take it outside of Alberta eventually, right? You seem to have a wider vision for everything going on. What have you discovered about the state of Canada versus Alberta alone? Like when you start looking at about how we go across here as one nation that has legalized it, how different are all of the provinces currently?
They're all so different.
They're all so different.
Different. Manitoba's still fighting. Like you could, for growing your 4 plants, not only could you go to jail and get criminal fines, but you could get like $1,000s fine.
100,000. $100,000.
Quebec,
Wow.
you're not allowed to grow your 4 plants. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And they fought, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court. And unfortunately, they decided that, you know what? The province has this one.
Mhm.
And
Well,
I
you
mean,
can't even
it's
consume
different.
smoke
It's
outside in Quebec.
everywhere. Like
Mm.
some places have regulators. Like out east, it was the government running it, and there was no small businesses. But now we're seeing these cute little farm gates be able to pop up where they actually have like a little farm, you know, fresh stand table situation going on, and that's needed. That's necessary. So we can have these conversations. And I feel like, you know, maybe you wanted to get a little education and step into an Indigenous brand store. In Ontario, you would have a lot easier of a time than Alberta.
Mhm.
Alberta is the most taxed out of all provinces and territories if you're a licensed producer, and that's really hard for those little guys. So everything is so different everywhere. So that's why it's so important that you're hitting all 3 levels when it comes to federal regulation and the acts, provincial or territorial, depending where you are, and then your municipality where you sit too, because that can even change it.
Mhm.
And you know, stuff rolls downhill fast, guys. That's all I'm saying.
Was Alberta, in terms like, was that a good place to start Camp Canna? Were you able to learn a lot that would make it easier in other provinces? Would there have been an easier province to start in? How would that have looked?
I think that
They all have their
they
hurdles.
all have their hurdles. I think Alberta was the best to start it in, honestly, because we live here, number one.
Generations.
Yeah, for generations in this area. Also, when we started, we were like, eek, the stigma is real in our community. Y'all. Like, this is, you know,
That's why you got your curtains closed.
30 years in the past. And so we just, I don't know, I just embodied it. I'm cool with it. It is what it is.
She's
at the end of the
so
day,
open.
I'm not changing
She
it.
shared
I
in
am a
the
consumer.
parent chat about Camp Canna.
Hey,
and
guys.
I was like, I had a heart attack that night, and I had to review who was in her daughter's class because there's only fucking 18 of them. Pardon my language.
I don't care. If you would like to participate in something that my business does, I'm going to share that with you, because you would share it with me if you were a dentist, a doctor, or whatever your business does. If you were a plumber, you would tell me, and I would call you if I needed it. Maybe you need a weekend away from your kids, y'all. I get it, dude. Like, come to this. You don't have to consume, but come. It'll be fun. And maybe that will break the stigma when we just don't care anymore and we just start inviting people. And it is what it is. Come and join it. Once you get there, what are you going to say? Oh, they were smoking weed.
Meanwhile, at
They were
baseball
happy.
practice, I'm like, why are they all staring at us like that? What's going on? Clearly, they're talking about the parent chat, guys.
Yeah. So some of us embody
more.
the non-care a little more than the other.
Yeah, I think I gave up caring.
Yeah.
Once I came out to my kids, once my kids knew what cannabis was and why I used it, I was like, you know what? And especially I got my medical license. I was like, I wear weed pants. I go out. I literally like.
We both do.
Yeah, they know that you're friggin' into the cannabis anyway.
To my kid's teacher
My
this year.
thing is, it's not about like being out. Like everyone definitely knows. It's a small town. They talk. It's for me. It's one thing knowing. It's another thing like seeing. And I feel like sometimes the kids get a little bit of stigma shade because of it. You know, like.
I think maybe, but your kids are always fed and dressed and on time and happy
we don't know that,
and
actually.
clean.
We actually don't know.
I follow them on Snap. I know.
Yeah.
I homeschooled my kids, so I didn't have to feed them and clothe them and get them off.
And nobody knew.
Leave them dirty where they belong.
Yeah, just keep the door closed and the curtains shut, and nobody knows.
Didn't you teach your daughter Spanish by using the Spanish version of Shrek?
Yeah, she watched Shrek 4 times a day in the Spanish version and learned Spanish. So
nice.
You don't even homeschooling is so easy. You don't even have to like pay attention to your kid. Just it's pretty cool stuff.
We have
that's what people think.
It's something that I will say about our community is where it is 40 years in the past is that the stigma is very much lifted here now. Because we had a Mother's Day tea here. And when we got the keys from the venue and like we had CBD tea partnered with an indigenous brand to provide that. And we had it like very Bridgerton vibes, like, you know, like really nice on like a lake top, like rooftop place that had like this patio. So you just want to step outside the door and consume your cannabis, like for sure. We're consuming inside. And when we got the keys from the venue, they were like, so what are you doing again? Like they were a little worried, like you can tell. They're like, yeah, I don't know about this. And they were a bar. So I told them, sorry, we're not serving alcohol during this event. And to them, they felt like that was so weird. Why would you gather these adults and not serve alcohol? But anyways, it was interesting to see them as each guest came in, their opinion of stoners change when they saw these like industry leaders well put together, like, you know, like the ladies, they like
there
it was so
many
fun.
Beautiful women there.
And then at
that
the end,
like honed into it.
At the end, they're like, do you girls put on any other events? Like, can we maybe put up a poster next time you have one so we can tell people about it? Like those kind, it just takes somebody doing it for people to experience it. And then it's just easier from there. So I think that's really
has that like started to snowball? Because I know, I mean, we talked about when we on the first interview, we talked about that stigma, being the mom, you know, you're waiting outside for your kids. Has this small community, is this something that is kind of exponentially stigma is falling down, or like how is that unfolding?
I see it falling down all of the time. Like I don't see it anymore at all because I just refuse to believe that there is one. And I am who I am. You are who you are.
I think I see it too falling down. And sometimes I believe that it went away so passionately that when it does come back around, I'm so shocked and appalled.
Yeah.
Like, how dare you have your negativity over here? Like,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man, that flashed me back to Christmas. Do you remember when I went to grab dinner on Christmas? There's one man, I always, when I see families or children, I always make sure I like move away from them. Like I'll cross the road. When I'm smoking, I don't want, even when I was a cigarette smoker, I still would cross the road.
Yeah.
So, I remember I didn't even realize that there was a family behind me when I crossed the road. So I like tucked over to the thing and I was like, oh, sorry. And I moved over to the side. And then when the light went green the other way, I let him go first. And he made a comment about how I was going, or he said to the kids, he said, remember, just because something is legal does not mean it will not send you to hell. And I was so taken back. Like you said, I thought this was gone. What are you talking about? But
come over here with your shade.
I'm like, I looked at the gentleman. He had 3 children tagging along behind him. I could tell just by looking at him that his religion made him believe that cannabis was such a bad thing. Like I could tell that he was a religious person and that was not in line with his values. So I understood where he was coming from, but it didn't make it hurt any less. And the part that hurt was the fact that I'm like, now there are 3 little children that are hearing that. And that's not necessarily true.
Yeah.
So it also doesn't mean that I'm a bad person.
No, it doesn't.
No, and I'm like, and that's where I'm like, yes, this is why I believe when I went back and I told them, I was like, we need to keep fighting this. We need to keep fighting this stigma because there are still people out there that believe that we're going to go to hell. Or, well, I am. You're not.
No, I'm going to hell.
Well, I guess technically because you're dating.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of reasons why I'm going to hell now. Yeah. I never used to be, but I've checked off a lot of the hell boxes now, apparently.
Oopsie.
Those are also in line with the fun boxes.
Welcome to the
that's like food. All the flavor is hidden in the gluten.
That's
I'm
true.
convinced.
True that.
It could be. I'm a firm believer that this next generation is going to be out there and crush generational trauma. They're growing up in a completely different society where cannabis is being used by quite a bit of the population, whether it is just recreationally or for medicinal purpose. So I'm excited to see what this next generation does, because I really believe that they're going to be the ones that heal it and just bring it that final phase.
Well, and when more people can provide dignified consumption in
Responsible,
spaces,
dignified fun.
yes, in consumption spaces,
That's what we're going to call this. We're going to call this episode responsible, dignified fun.
When they can see these things all over, where we're not stigmatized, like whether you want to go bowling and go for a break or whatever the activity or it is, it's going to create a space for these children to grow up and see that it's okay. I want it to be more normal to smoke a joint than to go and get hammered. You know what I mean?
Yes. But also like in a responsible manner, in the sense that like cannabis affects everybody differently. And if you have a bad experience with cannabis, like we've lost you forever. So when we say responsible, that's just in a matter of do what's best for you, like low and slow rhetoric. Like maybe you don't carry your bong in your purse everywhere you go like I do. But like, you know what I mean? Like whatever works for you. Like and
well,
just
even
that's fine too. So like if I'm smoking a joint with Jolene and she doesn't want to finish it, that would never happen. But maybe she didn't want to finish it. I would just be okay with that. And that's responsible, dignified consumption. Instead of being like, oh, come on, man, finish it, you know?
Yeah, but it would be nice to have places. Like I know when I was younger, I went to the bar to learn my tolerance. One night I would have one drink. The next night I'd have two drinks. The next night I'd have three. And then I realized that where my level was, but we don't even have that for cannabis. Like how nice would it be, like you're saying, to have a little coffee shop where you could order whatever, mochaccino, whether you want a coffee, iced coffee, whatever the hell. I don't drink coffee, so I don't know. But and then you could infuse it with whether you want a sativa oil or a hybrid oil or CBD. And how much do you want? Do you want 5 milligrams, 10 milligrams, 20 milligrams? What's your dose? You know, and we don't have those places.
For the new consumer market, being education. Seniors, like when seniors overconsume their fall risks, why are we not chaperoning them? You know what I mean? Like why
education?
Yeah, or just teach them how to even administer it. My grandfather got his medical license before it was legalized, and he got it because my mom pushed him to get it. Because he had back problems and she thought it would help him with his pain or whatever. But he didn't, when he got it, it was in bud form. Yeah. He had no idea how to roll a joint, what to do with it, what part of it to even smoke. Like you can't set people up for failure and expect the industry to survive. So
that was before people even were allowed. Like there was a time when you weren't even allowed to make edibles and we had to fight for the right to, and like it was so stupid. The doctors expected children that were on medical cannabis to use a vaporizer and put the vaporizer over the kid's face. Like, yeah, we had to fight for the right to just be able to put it into butter and oils and
well, I have to be careful on the journey that I'm on of thinking that cannabis will play some role. I'm not sure what, but I have to be very careful because I just turned 50 and I'm a fall risk now as well. I just don't want to I got to be very, very to keep that dose small.
Well, that's why we go to the legal stores, because the packages are 10 milligrams and some of them, they do 5 pieces. That's only 2 milligrams each one. And if you need it even smaller, get an oil. You can get the dropper and you can literally go down to a 0.1.
Can I consume it though while I'm riding my scooter?
Technically, you're not allowed to be intoxicated and drive any vehicle, whether it's a bicycle, motor vehicle. But I feel like the key word is intoxicated,
because it affects everyone differently for a different length of time, and even still different consumption methods can affect different people differently.
Well, the whole concept of affecting people differently, I think, is a great conversation piece, and I want to talk specifically about Camp Canna right now because we are getting close to our bedtime. But you had mentioned right at the beginning, and even what you were saying there about it affects everybody differently, and people got to have different doses, different things. But you even said that 10%, I believe, was the number of people who non-consumers were enjoying Camp Canna. And to me, I think one of the steps that people often talk about the stigma from the other side. So, people not in the cannabis space have this stigma about those in, but there's also this thing that people in the space with this assumption that you all must smoke cannabis. You have to smoke cannabis. And it's like, wait, hold on. We need to get to a place where we need to have events like Camp Canna, where, listen, just like when people used to say when I was in the church and before, like when I was going to heaven, not hell, and I would be a comedian and people would want to limit and sit there and say, oh, you're a Christian comic. And it's like, no, I just happened to be a comic who at the time was Christian. And we need to stop having these things of going, you're a cannabis chef. We just talked to Jordan Wagman on a podcast episode we just did. And it's like, he doesn't want to be a cannabis chef. I don't want to, I don't want to be a non-cannabis comedian. Your event shouldn't even be a cannabis event. It's an event, a great event that happens to allow cannabis consumption. I'm a comedian who happens to maybe talk about cannabis, maybe not. Jordan Wagman is a chef who happens to use cannabis. You are moms. You're not cannabis moms. You are moms who happen to consume cannabis. And so when you were saying that about Camp Canna, that to me is great, because what you want is to create more of those spaces where it doesn't matter if you consume. Come out, have a great time. Some other people here might, but let's just have a good time and allow it so that everybody can come to have a good time. Canna Camp.
And it's your choice, at the end of the day, you got to follow your heart, whether it's that extra piece of chocolate or maybe an extra doobie, depends who you are.
Right.
Or not. Cause I tell you, I've been to events too, where if you go a little too hard, too early in the day, smart to lay off a little bit, because you don't want to crash too hard in the middle of the day. You still have a full rest of it of activities. And, it's about learning your balance. And I guess my question would be, because I know you guys are about responsible.
Dignified.
Yes, and dignified. Fun. What checks do you guys have in place for if somebody feels a little overwhelmed per se?
What, at Camp Canna?
At Camp
So
Canna,
they have a team of vibe enhancers all throughout the camp, and their job is to just enhance the vibe. Like if the vibe's going south, like let's make sure everybody's doing good. Our bud patrol units go throughout the camp, check on everybody. Do you need any water? You guys doing okay? Great, awesome. Like we're constantly just checking on people. Like we're moms, let's check on them. How are they doing? Right. We also have hired security
and first aid
responder.
But not only that, you have to remember it's not like an event where there's alcohol. Like people don't go hog wild, They if they are going to consume all day, they are being mindful of how they're layering it and what effects they're getting. So by the end of the day, they're feeling euphoric instead of in their tent snoring,
Yeah. I was going to say, because what's the alternative if they overdo it? They go sleep. They're still not running naked in the bush.
Wait, is it clothing optional or what's the deal?
Well,
you do
you. We do have boudoir photos this year.
Yeah, we do, which is exciting.
Okay, all right.
But the thing,
because I'm not even wearing pants now, so that's why.
The day has we worked really hard to put a nice flow to the schedule. So you start your morning with some yoga, then you go into a guided meditation and sound bath. If you have consumed at those points in your day, your vibe is just on the right level for the day.
But that's your choice.
We do games in the afternoon. Maybe that's not your vibe. Maybe you want to go have a nap in the afternoon. Maybe you want to play sports in the afternoon. There's music at night. There's also a movie at night. So depending on what you want to do,
there's 2 kilometers of nature trails though. So if you just need to get away and have that moment, they can get away and have that moment at night. We light it up. So it's really beautiful. Consuming and doing yoga is not for everyone. I was super stoked last year and I learned that it is actually really hard to consume and do yoga on point.
Have you ever gone to goat yoga where they're doing yoga and there's like goats literally licking you?
Ew.
That's a
No.
true
Oh my
thing.
God.
That's a true thing.
Wait, have you done that?
I haven't done it, no,
Oh, okay.
but it's a true thing. People
I grew
find
up on
goats
farm,
peaceful.
so I'd be worried about the goats.
Yeah, I would be too. But I'm on the yoga train. Like yoga changed my life. I'm on that train as well.
Yeah.
So what's the purpose of Camp Canna? Let's kind of close this thing off here. Really give Camp Canna that good sell. What's the purpose? What's happening?
The purpose of Camp Canna
Is to have fun,
is to get together, have
find
some fun.
like-minded community members.
Celebrate being a consumer and
Yeah.
a cannabis event where legal brands can be present so you can get to know the why behind the products that you're consuming.
Because there are some
Yeah.
amazing events that happen, but you have to have like your registration
Yeah, your
from
QCW
your
mostly.
government. It's different in Ontario than here, but you have to be a bud tender or in the industry some way to attend these amazing events. And we wanted the two worlds to be able to come together and
Yeah.
because one day
And
we're
celebrate
gonna have
the
that coffee
culture.
shop.
The culture was lost in translation through legalization. So we're just trying to bring the culture back to the legal market.
So is it a hybrid? Because what I've been noticing here, MJ and I have talked a lot about it personally and publicly about the uncomfortable divide that has happened in the legacy market and the legal market, and a community that used to seem to be on the same page has now been split with people on the one side looking down on the legacy people and the legacy people going, oh, you guys have sold out. It's like, wait, hold on, this is what we all wanted this, and like what's happening? And so Camp Canna is you're saying it's kind of trying to
it's great.
bridge
It's
that
bringing
gap.
legacy with legal.
It's
what's needed.
It's not I don't imagine it's like we don't have any legacy brands at Camp Canna, but we do like
legacy people, I mean.
Yeah, for sure. Like we respect the foundation, but also legal people. It's legal to consume in Canada. Like you know what I mean? Like we are at the end of the day, like the legacy market
culture is the right word.
They created the foundation for the legal market. They have, the genetics. They had all the things that we needed. And now that we have it,
came from there.
We see an industry that's just lacking the foundation because the foundation wasn't poured properly. So now we need to go back and fix that. And I think that fixing that really just needs to be to remember the culture that made it so special to begin with before we worried about legislation and things like that. Like the culture was, you got a good doobie, you called up your friends, you all went down to the park and you shared the doobie and you had fun and you did whatever you wanted because you were just having fun and dignified with your friends. So let's just bring that back to it instead of let's see your QCW number. You can have a pre-roll. I guess we'll let you in. I go search your bag to make sure you're not over your limit. You know what I mean? Just bring some culture back to it.
Nice.
It sounds like the cannabis industry built a mansion, but forgot to do all of the landscaping.
Yeah.
So that's what the cannabis industry, like this is what the culture, we need to go in and we need to plant the flowers and the bushes and the gardens and the paths and the.
That's beautiful. That was beautiful.
Yeah. Thanks for building the mansion.
So tell people right now, because obviously I think by the time this goes to air, we're only a couple weeks away.
Yes.
When is Camp Canna? How do people find out about it? How do they sign up? How do they go? All of that information.
You can get a pass if there's still any available by the time this airs at Camp Canna.
Almost sold out.
You can find the link on our Instagram and our Facebook. We're also on TikTok. We like to get up to shenanigans everywhere.
And that's all blunt. Is it Blunts and Beans, or Camp Canna has its own? Is it all at Camp Canna?
Camp Canna, it's campcanna.ca. You can go on there, hit RSVP. That'll bring you to the pass website. Or you can go on Instagram at Blunts and Beans or at camp_canna.
And just click.
Yeah, we're all linked up. Just clickety boo, and you're good to go.
You know,
love it.
Mom likes to do work. Just click.
Yeah,
clickety boo.
Us women, we like our clickety click.
Like the clickety boo. Well, Liz, I one day, whether or not we show up in a couple weeks, or whether we show up next year, or whether we're just drop into the one that eventually comes to Ontario, however that plays out, we want to be a part of it.
Always huge supporters.
Yeah, we believe in you guys. We're excited about where you guys have come from, where you're going, and yeah, we couldn't be more excited for what Camp Canna is and what it can become too. So,
although I do want to say, I think you need to stop calling it Camp Canna. You need to call it the annual.
Camp Canna,
because like it's every year. You want them to know like it's every year. It'll be back next year.
Yeah, it will be.
I like that.
Do you have any final words?
Final words.
Are we getting executed?
What's that?
Are we getting executed?
I'm excited.
He does that to me all the time. I'm like, final.
Thank you for having us on your show for a second time. You guys have always spoke to the winners and us like long before we started winning, and I definitely appreciate that of both of you, even you, Timmy. You know, but definitely appreciate you guys for that. I love you.
Thank you.
Well, it's easy. Winners see winners, and as soon as we met you guys, I was like, what? Oh, you're reaching out for reaching for Jolene. Okay.
I'm not even in here.
No,
I thought we were doing a group hug or something.
I'm just like super excited because my love and my heart is in the advocacy side of things. So it's nice to meet, like, we'll just say like celebrities and influencers that you guys are. Yeah, I know you used to look at your faces. You're like, meh. Okay, just like we're like celebrities too. Okay. But it's the fact that you're working hard to make change as well. Like, you're not just like, hey, you know, this is great and fun. It's like, how do we make this more accessible for not just us, but for other people too? So I love the movers and the shakers. You're shaking the ground underneath them right now. So keep doing it.
Okay, so wait, if we do this and you guys do that and then you lean in, we got a group hug visually. So you got to come in this way.
Wait. No, this way.
This way. This way. See? There, look at that. There's a group hug.
That's funny.
Everybody, you need to check out Blunts and Beans, Alexis and Jolene, Camp Canna. All the information's on there. They'll be all linked in the descriptions on whether you're watching or listening.
Yep, check out their TikTok and when they start up their
and our YouTube channel. We have a YouTube channel now at Blunts and Beans.
YouTube. All right, so there you go, and YouTube as well. So Jolene, thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Don't listen.
No worries. I'm glad I could be here as well.
MJ,
Alexis.
I know. I'm gonna send Alexis a message and be like, "Send me your shirt size." I'm so.
Okay. All right, Alexis is getting a shirt, and then Jolene has to get a fresh shirt.
Yeah.
Is that right? Is it time for the fresh one?
I think it's time for a fresh one.
All right. Cool. Thank you so much for joining us here on the spot. We wish you guys all the best, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Hi, I'm Timmy.
And I'm Mary Jane. He's the newbie.
She's the doobie. And this is the show
where we
tote
cannabis.
Talk.
From both sides.
Is that even possible?
Stay tuned. We'll be back after this toke.